Rapper Snoop Dogg now facing allegations of sexual assault and battery just days before he's set to perform at the massive halftime show for the game.
Afraid of being on death row sometimes?
Never. I was afraid when I wasn't on death row.
Right. Explain.
Because it was death threats, it was like where they was coming to get at me. Fighting a murder case, and he was out on bail from his case. So naturally, we look like America's most wanted.
At 53, Snoop Dogg finds himself right in the middle of the same kind of chaos he once tried to dodge. From the gritty streets of Long Beach to becoming a worldwide icon, his story has always been a wild mix of wins, drama, and controversy. His rise wasn't clean. There were legal wars, shocking allegations, and feuds so intense they rocked the entire industry.
Defendant McKinley Lee, not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Penal Code Section 187, a felony, is charged in count 1 of the information, dated February 13, 1996.
From that infamous 1993 murder trial that nearly destroyed his career to backlash over his comments on LGBTQ+ representation, Snoop's fame has always come with heavy fallout. The man who once bragged about living above the noise is now tangled right in it.
Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now.
This video dives deep into Snoop's darkest chapters, the scandals that fans can't forget, and the secrets that won't stay buried. Back in 2005, when Snoop Dogg was polishing his image and stepping into Hollywood's spotlight, things took a nasty turn. Headlines exploded across every major outlet when a woman named Kylie Bell filed a lawsuit against him, NBC, and others, claiming she'd been mistreated and violated during his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live. This wasn't just another courtroom drama. It was a career crisis in motion. Snoop was breaking out of his gangsta rap shell, landing family-friendly deals, and becoming a household name. Suddenly, that carefully built image was on trial for the world to see. The allegations were intense. Bell claimed she'd been drugged, humiliated, and threatened by people tied to Snoop's crew. The public reaction was instant and explosive. Some fans swore he was being targeted for his fame and fortune, while others couldn't shake the disturbing details. But Snoop didn't back down. He clapped back hard, calling the lawsuit a setup meant to take him down. His legal team fired back with countersuits, accusing Bell of trying to cash in on his name.
That case, pretty much went to the wayside. Do you think this is a common trend that you see, that people are just clout chasing now, these celebrities, rather than it being some real accusation?
The story turned into a feeding frenzy online. Back then, early blogs and hip-hop forums were blowing up with headlines like, "Did Snoop go too far?" and another rapper facing career-ending charges. What made the whole situation even crazier was how public his personal life had become. Just 2 years later, he'd be smiling on TV with his wife and kids on Snoop Dogg's Fatherhood. But in 2005, that family man image was cracking, and Snoop was fighting to prove he wasn't the man those headlines painted him to be. The legal war dragged on, but Snoop's team played the game like pros. They flipped the story and started winning the public's attention back. Bit by bit, parts of the lawsuit got tossed out, and no criminal charges ever landed. Still, the hit to his image stuck. For a lot of people, it was the first real reminder that Snoop's charm and humor couldn't hide the chaos that had followed him since day one.
As far as the allegations, I have no comment.
Last time we had you here, we talked about T.I., and I seen you on the show last year, and Tiny asked you about that, and then we found out a few months ago that they dropped the charges.
Looking back, some fans swear this lawsuit was the spark that opened the door to years of accusations and rumors that never stopped chasing him. Others saw it differently, just another case of a celebrity with deep pockets being hunted for a payday. But no matter what side people were on, one thing was clear. In 2005, Snoop Dogg's world shifted for good. That was the first big storm, and it definitely wasn't the last. By the early 2000s, Snoop wasn't just rapping. He was turning himself into a full-on brand. And one of his wildest, most controversial moves ever, jumping straight into the adult film world. Yeah, in 2001, he shocked fans when he dropped Snoop Dogg's Doggy Style, a collaboration with Hustler that had the whole entertainment industry talking.
My style was imperative to everything that I was doing, as far as my rap style, my look, my whole style in general. So it was dope because it gave you a X-rated feel.
And this wasn't just some small cameo. Snoop went all in. He hosted, cracked jokes, performed music, and narrated scenes while adult stars did their thing around him. The move blurred every line between art, business, and shock value. Some fans said, that's just Snoop being Snoop, living up to the doggy-style name that made him famous since 1993. But not everyone was cheering. Critics slammed it hard, calling the project a dangerous mix of fame and exploitation. Advocacy groups accused him of glorifying toxic power dynamics and dragging hip-hop into a space it wasn't ready for. Even worse, some claimed Snoop's name gave the adult industry new appeal among young rap fans, and that hit a nerve with parents everywhere.
Opened some criticism on how could he have an album cover that looks like this, and there's a woman bent over and it's referring to this content inside of it.
Still, one thing's for sure, Snoop made bank. The DVD went platinum, turning him into one of the first big-name rappers to cash out directly from adult entertainment. It was bold, profitable, and totally on brand for someone who'd built a career pushing boundaries. But he didn't stop there. Oh no, he doubled down with Snoop Dogg's Hustler's Diary of a Pimp in 2002, and that's when the backlash got loud. Advocacy groups started speaking out harder, saying Snoop had gone from edgy to exploitative. Music critics accused him of glorifying pimp culture, and some fans began to wonder, was he selling art or selling shock value?
Style, it was more about, I know what this dude is about. I know what his album should be about. It should be some pimp, extraordinary, fly, dope rap, hardcore.
For parents, this was no longer just about hip-hop. It was about influence. How could a man who talked about being a proud father and husband also smile from the cover of adult DVDs? The contradiction was huge. It fueled endless gossip, tabloid headlines, and split his fan base in half.
You guys have like the most hilarious family I've ever seen. First of all, what's neck?
Neck.
So why do you say neck though?
So because you want to rip her neck.
Well, what if I didn't say nothing stupid? I didn't think it was stupid.
Financially, Snoop came out on top, but socially, he became one of the most polarizing figures in rap history. People started calling him a pimp rapper, not just because of his lyrics, but because of how he ran his business. Even today, whenever folks talk about Snoop's legacy, those hustler deals always come up as proof that he was willing to take things farther than anyone else. What really matters, though, is how those moves reshaped the way people saw him. Once you step into that adult world, it sticks forever. Fans, critics, and haters never forget. And Snoop Dogg, whether he meant to or not, tied his name to that side of fame for life. From his earliest lyrics to his boldest business deals, the man always played by his own rules. And that's exactly why people can't stop talking about him. Snoop Dogg's 1993 debut album, Doggy Style, didn't just shake up hip-hop, it flipped the whole culture on its head. It was raw, bold, and unapologetic, filled with explicit rhymes about sex, women, and street power. Tracks like Ain't No Fun, If the Homies Can't Have None, became club anthems, but they also lit up a firestorm of criticism. Women's groups, church leaders, and even politicians slammed Snoop for what they saw as glorifying the disrespect of women.
Steamroller was in fact what any good parent who was opposed to the filth in some of these records would do. They take these things from their children and throw them in the garbage can.
Through it all, Snoop stood his ground. He said his music wasn't an attack, it was a reflection of the world he grew up in, a soundtrack to his reality. But not everyone bought it, especially when his interviews started painting a different picture. He wasn't just rapping about the pimp lifestyle, he was living it loud. Fur coats, gold chains, canes, and all. He called himself Big Boss Dog and embraced that image fully. For fans, it was pure entertainment. But for critics, it was confirmation that the lines between art and life had disappeared. And the controversy didn't stop when the 90s ended. It only evolved. As the 2000s rolled in, Snoop kept feeding headlines with comments that blurred the line between humor and disrespect. In one interview, he laughed about being loyal to strip clubs, and in another, he brushed off his adult film ventures as just another hustle. Critics fired back, saying he was normalizing exploitation and turning misogyny into a marketing tool. His defenders, though, saw it differently. They said Snoop was just being real, staying true to his image.
Reverend Butts ain't got no love for us. You know what I'm saying? And it shouldn't be like that, especially if he's a preacher. You're supposed to counsel us.
Then social media came along and turned up the heat. Suddenly, every joke, every quote, every side comment became a viral headline. When Snoop insulted female artists like Iggy Azalea, mocking her looks and calling her names, fans were outraged. They called him a hypocrite, pointing out that the same man who celebrated the women in his family was disrespecting women in his industry. Even other artists began to push back. Younger rappers said Snoop's words carried too much weight to be brushed off as jokes. Debates exploded online. Was Snoop just keeping it real, or was he stuck in the past? But here's the twist. Every scandal, every backlash only seemed to make him bigger. His name stayed trending, his stream stayed booming, and his swagger stayed intact. Snoop had mastered the game of controversy, turning criticism into free promotion and keeping his legacy alive no matter what people said. Still, the damage from those lyrics and comments couldn't just disappear. They shaped how fans, critics, and even the courts looked at him. Whenever new accusations or lawsuits popped up, whether about his business ventures, behavior, or personal life, people always went back to his music and words as proof of who he really was. And just when Snoop thought he'd made it past the early drama, his world flipped upside down. By the mid-90s, Snoop Dogg wasn't just a rising rap superstar. He had become the face of gangster rap's most dangerous image. In 1993, right when Doggy Style was blowing up the charts, real-life violence caught up to him. By 1996, Snoop and his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, were charged with the murder of Philip Woldemariam, a Los Angeles gang member. Prosecutors claimed Snoop was behind the wheel while Lee fired the fatal shot. It was the headline every news station wanted. The biggest rap star in the world now facing life in prison.
Fighting a murder case, and he was out on bail from his case. So naturally, we look like America's Most Wanted.
The case sent shockwaves through music, media, and the streets. Snoop had gone from chart topper to courtroom defendant, and suddenly, the Doggy Style image didn't feel like a game anymore. Snoop's defense came out swinging. They said it was pure self-defense. His team argued that Philip Woldemariam had threatened Snoop's crew, and that his bodyguard, McKinley Lee, only fired because he believed their lives were on the line. The courtroom drama dragged on for over a year, with Snoop staring down the terrifying possibility of spending life behind bars. Every move he made during that time was shadowed by that threat. It was like living under a storm that never cleared. The media went wild with it. Reporters didn't just talk about the case. They made Snoop the face of gang culture, violence, and what critics called hip-hop's bad influence on young people. Every court appearance turned into a full-blown circus. Camera crews, flashing lights, protesters outside, and fans screaming his name like it was a movie premiere instead of a murder trial. Then came 1997, the verdict that had the world holding its breath. When the jury announced Snoop Dogg was acquitted, the courtroom exploded. Snoop's camp celebrated in tears of relief, while the victim's family cried out in anger. To fans, it was proof their hero had beaten the system. But to critics, it looked like another example of fame buying freedom.
Find the defendant, McKinley Lee, not guilty of the crime of murder in the first degree in violation of Penal Code Section 187, a felony, is charged in count 1 of the information. Dated February 13, 1996.
You'd think that kind of scare would make anyone chill, but not Snoop. His run-ins with the law didn't end there. Through the late 90s and 2000s, his name stayed in police reports almost as often as it did on the charts. Most of the time it was marijuana possession, but every now and then, things got serious. In 2006, he got busted at Bob Hope Airport for trying to carry both weed and a firearm onto a plane. Just months later, at John Wayne Airport, security found a collapsible baton in his bag, classified as a dangerous weapon under California law. Then in 2012, Border Control agents stopped his tour bus and claimed they found weed on board. Yep, another headline, another arrest.
Rapper Snoop Dogg is facing marijuana charges after being arrested at a Texas checkpoint last weekend. The hip-hop star was busted after border agents searched his tour bus.
And just when people thought it couldn't get wilder, boom, 2015 happened. After performing in Sweden, Snoop got detained again, this time accused of being under the influence. Police said he looked high, but when tests came back, prosecutors admitted they didn't have enough evidence to charge him. Snoop was furious, calling the whole thing racial profiling, and he made sure the world heard about it. All these legal run-ins shaped his image big time. Snoop became the rapper who was always one step away from another courtroom. Every mugshot went viral. Every arrest made the news, and somehow, every time, it boosted his fame even more. His record sales spiked right alongside his rap sheet, but behind the swagger and smirks, it was clear the law was a ghost that never stopped haunting him. From murder charges to airport busts, Snoop's life has always walked that razor-thin line between superstar and inmate. The world saw the cool, calm, big boss dog, but beneath that, there was a man constantly fighting to keep his freedom. And while his career looked unstoppable, his personal life told a different story. Behind the shades and the fur coats, Snoop's private world was marked by heartbreak, family pain, and surprising comebacks. The most public blow came in 2004 when Snoop and his high school sweetheart, Shantae Taylor, called it quits after years of marriage. Fans were stunned. The couple had 3 kids together and were often seen as proof that fame didn't have to destroy real love. The court papers said irreconcilable differences, and tabloids jumped on it, claiming fame had broken another Hollywood family. But then, just when everyone thought it was over, Snoop flipped the script again. A year later, he and Shantae quietly got back together, renewing their vows in a private ceremony that shocked the public.
Hey, yeah. Can we have you all step down, please?
The reunion gave fans a glimpse of a softer, more human side of Snoop, a man who could survive scandals, courtrooms, and chaos, but still come home to the love that started it all. Snoop later came clean. His own choices nearly wrecked his marriage. He admitted that his infidelity and fast-paced lifestyle almost cost him everything, including the woman who'd been by his side since high school. It was one of the few times fans saw him vulnerable, admitting the pain behind the fame, but nothing tested him more than his daughter Corey Broadus's health battles. Diagnosed with lupus at a young age, Corey's journey has been filled with ups and downs, from painful treatments to public struggles with depression. Then in early 2024, she shared devastating news. She'd suffered a stroke. The world held its breath. Snoop dropped everything to be by her side, posting heartfelt messages and reminding everyone that family came before everything. Fans saw a totally different side of him, not the gangster rapper with the slick talk, but a father fighting for his baby girl's life.
I'm my dad's twin.
Y'all got y'all life together, you got business, whatever you want, manifest it.
Loss has chased Snoop from the start. The deaths of close friends and collaborators left wounds that fame could never heal. When Tupac Shakur was murdered in 1996, Snoop was crushed. He called Pac his brother, and the pain of that loss still echoes through interviews decades later. Then came another heartbreak. In 2011, Snoop lost Nate Dogg, one of the key pillars of his G-Funk empire. Nate wasn't just a collaborator, he was family. At the funeral, Snoop broke down in tears, saying hip-hop would never sound the same without him. And just when fans thought they knew who Snoop Dogg really was, he shocked everyone again. In 2012, he announced that Snoop Dogg was gone. He was now Snoop Lion. Inspired by a trip to Jamaica and his embrace of Rastafarian beliefs, he dropped a reggae album titled Reincarnated. The transformation was wild. Some fans called it spiritual evolution, while critics labeled it a PR stunt. There were heated debates everywhere. Was this a man finding peace or just another reinvention for headlines? Either way, the move proved one thing. Snoop would never let the world box him in.
That I want to become Snoop Dogg on a reggae track. I want to bury Snoop Dogg and become Snoop Lion.
Through all of it, the patched-up marriage, his daughter's resilience, the loss of friends, and the constant reinventions, Snoop showed that behind the cool persona stood a man fighting real battles no amount of fame could erase. But make no mistake, His biggest explosions didn't always come from the mic. Some of the wildest moments of Snoop's career came from his feuds, lawsuits, and cultural clashes that kept him front-page news for decades. One of the fiercest rivalries in hip-hop history, his fallout with Suge Knight and Death Row Records. After walking away from the label in the late 90s, Snoop accused Suge of betrayal and shady business dealings.
I left Death Row Records. I signed with No Limit Records, which was the hottest rap label in the industry.
In 2002, he dropped a diss track called Pimp Slapped, going straight for the jugular. He called out Suge by name, accusing him of intimidation and mismanagement, something few rappers dared to do at the time. Fans couldn't believe it. This was Snoop standing toe-to-toe with one of the most feared men in the industry and living to tell the tale.
A day in the life of a rolling 20 crib.
But even outside of death row drama, Snoop found himself in cultural crossfire again and again. In 2014, he went after rapper Iggy Azalea on social media, posting crude memes and mocking her looks. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Fans, artists, and activists slammed him for misogyny and bullying. Though Snoop eventually apologized, the damage was done. The world was reminded that his jokes could sometimes hit hard and cross the line.
Boys and girls, I just got off the phone with my homeboy Tip, the king of Atlanta, and it's officially over. No more bad talk. I apologize.
And if that wasn't enough, legal trouble followed him onto the stage too. In 2016, during a joint concert with Wiz Khalifa in Camden, New Jersey, chaos broke out when a railing collapsed near the crowd. 17 fans were injured in the fall, and lawsuits came flying fast. Once again, Snoop was pulled into another storm, this time over safety and responsibility. Through every scandal, every loss, and every reinvention, one thing's clear. Snoop Dogg's story isn't just about music. It's about survival, transformation, and the cost of living life completely unfiltered in front of the world.
This is the view from the stage as the front railing collapsed during a Snoop Dogg and Wiz Khalifa concert.
Snoop and Wiz both found themselves tangled in that lawsuit after the tragic stage collapse, but after years of legal back and forth, the court finally cleared them. Still, the damage was done. Those haunting images of panicked fans being carried away on stretchers left a stain on the tour's legacy that no verdict could erase. Even after the case wrapped up, new drama was waiting for him around every corner, as Snoop reinvented himself yet again, jumping from rap icon to business mogul. His brand only grew bigger and bolder. From cooking shows with Martha Stewart to his shocking move to own Death Row Records in 2022, Snoop seemed unstoppable. But just when it looked like he was rewriting history, another legal storm hit. Enter Lydia Harris, a woman who claimed she was still owed a massive $107 million judgment from Death Row's early days. She accused Snoop of taking the label's brand and legacy while ignoring the debts that came with it. Fans were stunned when she called him out publicly, saying he couldn't just rebuild the Death Row empire without paying what was due. Snoop didn't hold back either. He clapped back hard, saying, "I own Death Row, so I do what I want to do."
I own Death Row, so I do what the I want to do.
That line went viral instantly. Some fans cheered his boss energy, while others said it showed how tangled his empire had become. But it wasn't just lawsuits keeping Snoop in the headlines. His mouth kept the internet buzzing too. In 2022, he caught major backlash for his reaction to the same-sex couple featured in Disney's Lightyear. After watching it with his grandson, Snoop said he was caught off guard by the scene. The internet lit up instantly, accusing him of being tone-deaf and insensitive. Snoop later walked it back, saying he respected everyone and was still learning. But the moment showed just how closely every word he says gets picked apart these days. He's no longer just a rapper. He's a global figure whose opinions can spark fire in seconds.
Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Just came to watch the goddamn movie. Hey man, watch the movie. So it's like, I'm scared to go to the movies now.
At 53, Snoop Dogg stands as one of the most famous, most unpredictable legends in music. His journey has been anything but easy, from courtroom battles and public feuds to lawsuits and internet outrage. He's taken hit after hit and somehow always stayed standing. He's proof that even in an industry built on chaos, the real survivors know how to turn every scandal into a new chapter of success. So what do you think? Has Snoop Dogg truly evolved, or is he just better at surviving the storm? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button, share this story with your crew, and don't forget to subscribe for more wild celebrity breakdowns. See you on the next one.